Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with veteran New York jazz saxophonist and composer Vinnie Riccitelli. After our first interview, Vinnie declared an open invite to reach back out to delve further into the names and stories that he's been around in his life. We took this well-traveled 94-year-old musician up on it. We got into a career that included gigs and stories with the likes of Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Barbra Streisand, Tom Jones, Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin, Bobby Darrin, and so many others. This is part 2 of our series with Vinnie. Enjoy.
Hi, Vinnie.
Yes.
It's Joe Domino with Neon Jazz Radio in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you for calling again.
Yeah, you bet, man. Hey, did you get your vaccine?
I'm one shot.
Okay.
And another one to go on the 29th.
I got you. Yeah, I just got my shot today. It's the Johnson & Johnson one shot. So you're one of the first people I'm telling because I remember how triumphant you were telling me about it when you got yours. So it's
the Johnson shot. Yeah, I wanted to get that one, but I didn't want to wait.
Yeah.
When I had my friend call me today, my bass player Lou, the guy on my album.
Yeah.
He set it up for himself. He must have said something to the lady. Can I bring my friend? Or he calls up and says, "You want to get a shot tomorrow at 3 p.m.?" I says, "What do I?" So
yeah.
So he picked me up. It was a neighborhood pharmacy. Nobody there. Practically a couple other people getting. Well, it was by appointment, so there wouldn't be any line,
Yeah, sure. Well,
Did you get any reaction to it?
No, I mean, I just got it an hour ago. They say, wait 15 minutes, but, I've heard stories.
Yeah, right. I didn't feel anything at all. No pain, no red mark or tiredness the next day, nothing.
Yeah, that's
good. But Lou felt a little bit for a couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah, well, for what it's going to do for you, I guess it's all worth it, really, at the end of the day. So,
well, I won't really feel safe until I get the second one in.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, I wanted to keep the conversation going, and I wanted to dig a little bit more into your career and some stories about, playing with cats and all of that. But you did mention Sinatra, and anytime I hear Sinatra mentioned, I always have so many wonderful stories about playing with him. Do you have a story about playing with Sinatra that
well, the story is it happened you can check this in 1976 at the theater I was playing in. He came in with Sammy Davis and not Sammy Davis, Dean Martin, and they did a show. I think I did 18 shows in 10 days, and the theater got busted because they put folding chairs in the aisle and sold extra seats that they did not declare, and they busted the theater because of that. It happened in 1976. You can check it. It was in the papers.
Yeah.
And there's such shady things. The theater, the guy who was the president of the theater, I think he was the front man, he got sent to jail for a year, and when he got out, he became Sinatra's road manager. Now, I mean, there's something very fishy there, man.
Right.
But those guys, the theater was run by the boys, really. It was a beautiful little theater, only 3,000 seats, but every show that we did was called Westchester Premier. We sold out every show. I was there for almost 2 years. I did so many acts, even acts like Natalie Cole and Vicky Carr and the Temptations and the Four Tops and Johnny Mathis and Vic Frankie Lane, Henry Mancini with an orchestra, and Michel Legrand with his show. Really good stuff. It was the greatest job I ever had because every week was a new show. You never got bored with the music. You didn't have time you didn't play it that many times to get bored with it. And it was a 15-minute drive from my house. It was such a great job. And they loused it up. what can I tell you?
Yeah.
It was immediately shut down, and now the building was built, torn down, and replaced by a commercial building. But that happened that's quite a few years ago. It's like 35 years ago. Yeah, I had done Frank the year prior to that. He came in for 1 week, and there was nothing going wrong with that show. So I did about 20. I would say about almost 20 shows with him. Yeah, it was great.
Well, and then there's so many others that are on. You got Tony Bennett, you got Barbra Streisand, Tom Jones. Where
I played Barbra Streisand, she came in. She was being roasted by the Friars Club, and at the Waldorf, and the Friars Club. I did the Friars Club 4 years in a row with 4 different leaders, and she happened to be there, and she insisted on singing at her own roast. So she came in with her conductor, Peter Matz, I think it was, and the lead alto player, and she rehearsed 4 songs. She did 3 of them. And I remember Don Rickles doing a number on her and her mother.
I love that guy.
he during the roast part of it,
Yeah, sure.
So I didn't work a lot with her. I just did that one shot with her, but it was a nice thing. Because she was on the people that stayed on the West Coast I never worked with. They had to come east for me to work with them because I didn't go up there. And my leader that I contracted for happened to be Dom DeLuise's conductor, and we did a show with him in Staten Island, which was a hoot. There was so many acts. Lena Horne, and I did what's his name, the black singer with the deep voice. Oh God.
Well, Mel Torme was on there too.
I did that was at the Maisonette. Yeah, I did the Mel Torme. I did the cope with Don Rickles and Bobby Darrin. Really good shows.
Yeah. What did you learn from them? When you get around a legendary person, what did you pick up from being around them?
Well, they actually don't get involved with the band. Yeah. Sometimes you don't even see them until the show. They don't even come to the rehearsal.
Yeah.
They rehearse their music, and their conductor takes care of the music, and we don't see them till the show starts. And you don't get to talk. They don't sit down and talk with you. The only guy that ever, I remember doing a telethon with Jerry Lewis telethon. It was the New York band. There was a band in New York and a band in California or wherever it was out there. So we would switch back and forth. Bobby Rosengarten was our leader. One year they wanted to do Sammy Davis for a host. And he wanted a big band, and we never had a big band. We had a small band. So they did the thing in Manhattan and gave him the big band. And I remember him coming to talk to us in the middle of the rehearsal and saying that he had to go back and have his throat examined. And sure enough, he had throat cancer.
Oh, wow.
But he's the only actor that I ever remember talking to us.
Interesting.
I can remember something. Oh, Bobby Darrin. This is a funny bit. One night, Bobby turned around and he started to ask the guy in the middle of the show, "What's your name? What's your name?" So when he got to me, I said, "Vinnie Riccitelli." He said, "Oh, I had that for dinner the other night." That's Riccitelli, not Riccitelli.
Right.
But he was very talented, that guy. My God.
Yeah.
Oh, great. He was great.
Yeah.
Well, but the 2 shows I enjoyed the most, no singing, was the Michel Legrand and Henry Mancini.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it that was so special about those shows?
Well, they played piano and conducted their own music. They wrote all the music, and they were terrific arrangers and composers. We had a big band with strings, and it was just beautiful music.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember one thing about Henry Mancini was a flute player.
Yeah.
And he actually had played saxophone with Glenn Miller when he was younger.
Yeah.
Anyway, he wrote a song called the Baby Elephant Walk. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. Yes.
Very comical song. And we had to play four piccolos. So he came on stage and played a piccolo with us. We had 5 piccolos playing it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You know, things that happened, like there was a, you're probably not going to use stuff like this, but he had one piece of music that, I think it was a Bach thing. It wasn't his. It was a Bach 2-part invention or something with a girl singer and a tenor sax doubling it, you know. So our guy had to go down front with the music and stand next to the girl and do during the rehearsal, everything went fine. The first show, he gets down there, he knocks the music into the audience, the music stand. And, you know, everybody broke up. They thought it was a part of the act, you know. He was so embarrassed, man.
Oh, yeah. That seems like something you just have to play off, though. You know?
Yeah, right.
Man.
Little things that happen like that. I remember working with a piano player, the hell was his name? Very good solo player, the Maisonette. He came in with his trio. And he was introduced to the drummer and the bass player. The drummer stood up, and when he went to sit down, he knocked all his drum. He missed the chair and knocked all his drum. Stuff like that I remember, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Howling.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember who else. Oh, I worked at the Royal Box. That was the main floor on the Americana Hotel. And the acts I did there were, I worked with Caterina Valenti. Did you ever hear of her?
Yeah.
She was a marvelous singer.
Yeah.
And Sergio Franchi worked there. And even Milton Berle did a show with Pearl Bailey. And who else? That was a nice job that I did there.
Yeah.
And yes, go ahead.
Well, I was wondering, one thing I didn't get a chance to really find out exactly, is Ted Nash going to pick up this project and play your music? I think it'd be wonderful.
He promised me, but his hands are tied.
Yeah.
He can't do it. The club is not, they're doing the kind of stuff that you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
With electronics.
Yeah. Yeah.
He promised me, well, he didn't put it in writing, but he called me. He asked me. I didn't ask him. You know, he wants to do it. He was very gung-ho.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It should have happened in last August was when he wanted to do it.
Wow.
I sent him a copy of my new stuff, so he's got access. He can have access to 25 of my charts.
Cool.
There's 17 there, and there's 8 on my first album.
Well, hopefully he'll pick it back up. You know. You know, the one thing too that's so interesting about you is that 1956 was when you released your album. You met your wife, and then it wasn't until just recently that you released your second one. Did you want to release more albums over the years, or how did all that happen?
I just never thought about that kind of a career.
Yeah,
I was too busy doing what I was doing. Now, if I was just doing weddings and bar mitzvahs only, that was the only kind of work I could get, I probably would have maybe started to try to do more writing, you know. But I was so busy doing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I told you that I was in Birdland for 11 years every Friday with Lou Anderson's band. And before that, we were 11 years in the Red Blazer, you know, like, and that was only a little part of what I was doing.
Yeah.
And earlier I was even teaching, you know, privately. So I got caught up in all that stuff and bringing up 3 kids. Oh, I have 3 children, two sons and a daughter. And my two sons worked with the Beatles, not the Beatles, the Monkees, Davy Jones and the Monkees.
Yeah.
My son Jimmy was Davy Jones' music director for 20 years.
Oh, cool.
He played big keyboard, and the other son, my other son of Gene Krupa, by the way, played the drums.
Right on.
Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
that's another thing that happened. And when Davy died, my son Jimmy stopped. He was into high finances, making a lot of money doing that. So his working with Davy was just a lark with him. He could be on the road with Davy and do his job with his telephone and a laptop. You know,
Yeah,
it was like being in his office.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that happened with my family.
Well, you must be proud that they had a
my daughter's a nurse practitioner. Yeah,
Okay.
I had a good family.
Yeah.
They're elderly now. They're not kids anymore.
But, I mean, isn't that the main thing? I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is you were out doing it, you know? I mean, that was your focus. You were
making a living,
family.
you know.
Yeah, making a living.
When you're a freelancer, you don't turn down anything.
Yeah.
You know, anything that comes, any kind of work comes across. Of course, the things if somebody asked me to do a job on the scale, I would turn it down, you know. But I never turned down work, even if I knew that it wasn't going to be a great musical experience. It was you make a buck, you know.
Yeah.
You play the 4 hours and you get paid, and that's how you make a living. I never had it. That theater job I had was probably the only really steady job I ever had. The Copa was only 3 months, and the other one in the Americana was about a year, and it was the Maisonette was on and off Monday night, so nothing really lasted long. That's the way the freelance theater is, you know, freelance working. And the great thing about it, Joe, is that you never get bored with it, because I was working with different people every week and different acts, and you never knew what the hell was going to come next. You get a call for next week, you know, and you get to play with different guys, and it's the opposite of a boring factory job.
Yeah, I'd say so. What I'm fascinated by Birdland. What was that experience like to be there for that long?
Well, that was a great job. Lou Anderson was. Do you remember the Howdy Doody show?
Yeah.
He was the clown on that. He was little Clarabelle the clown. Huh. But outside of that, he was a terrific arranger and saxophone player. And he had a band for years and years. And I happened to work with his band. And we were working at this Red Blazer place on 46th Street, and that job folded. And he got somebody to get him into Birdland. And the way he did it, to get in every week, he went to the owner and he says, why don't we come in on like 5:30 on Friday and play for 2 hours? Nothing's happening in your club then, you know. And I've got guys in my band that play Broadway shows. They can do their thing and go do their show. He talked the owner into that, and it's up until now. This is like over 20 years later. It was still going on. It morphed into the Birdland Band, and of course it's not working now because nobody is. But we were there every week. You know how many Fridays that is, Joe? 11 years. It's over 500.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
And my trumpet player, Glenn Drews, was there every one of those. He's a great guy and a great player. You should mention some things about my guys, you know.
Yeah.
I told you about Tony Tedesco, who was John Pizzarelli's drummer until recently. Yeah, about 15 years. And Eddie Montero if you Google Eddie Montero on the computer, you'll see what a career he's had. He's a world-known accordion player.
Yeah.
Renowned player, really. He's a monster on the accordion. Piano is like, he played piano for the kind of dates, club dates where I worked with him. And the thing that I featured him on was originally written for piano solo. So since I had him playing, I said, gee, Eddie, why don't you play accordion on that, just for something different, But I had a piano player named Johnny Morris that I wrote that for. Almost everything I wrote was for one of the guys, The beak on the first album is for my friend Joe Shepley, who has sort of a bent nose, and his friends, when he was growing up, named him the Beak,
Yeah.
And, of course, Carmen Leggio, I remember my mother, I had a cousin named Carmen, and my mother used to call him Carmenooch. So that's where that came from.
Yeah.
And bird flight is supposed to be bird flight, it's like a takeoff and a landing. I get into that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
like little tiny nuances with the music. I'm trying to think of anything now. Little Boy Blue, spelled B-L-E-W. Like I'm referring to a guy taking off and what they call stretching out. If you'll notice that it's the only long solo on the whole album. He plays 6 courses in a row. We call that stretching out. And Little Boy Blue, like he was blowing his, let him go. So that's the story with that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I wrote that, I said, "What the hell am I going to call this?" I says, I wrote it for a guy for a baritone player, especially in mind. He has the only solo, so I'll let him play as long as he wants. And when we used to do it in my house, he could play for 20 courses if he wanted,
Yeah.
There was no restriction on, but you can't do that on your records.
Yeah, right.
That the other thing I have called minor incident is you should have 3 or 4 more solos on it. It's a very short thing, because I didn't write anything but the line. I don't have any special written choruses on it. So I had one chorus, and it wasn't developed as a full chart like some of the other things. Do you have any questions? Did you play all of the tracks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love it.
Do you have any favorites?
The whole experience, and that's what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to pick the tracks for the album. It's going to be a hard pick, but I loved start to finish. I've been really focusing on that. In this modern day and era, everybody cherry picks and listens to a track here and there. Just the whole album is a full experience, especially since I've talked to you and understand your history. It's just kind of like reading a whole book instead of 1 chapter or 2 chapters.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. I want to keep this conversation going, and I had a half-hour build in here because I gotta move to another appointment. But if you don't mind, I want to keep this conversation going, and I want to get more specific questions for you. So if you don't mind, I'll give you a call back, and we'll keep this going and just have different conversations.
Okay, listen, call as many times as you want. Just a couple of things now.
Sure.
The one arrangement there that I didn't do of the major Cadiz was by Tommy Newsome. Do you know who Tommy Newsome was?
Yes.
He was from the Johnny Carson show.
Yes.
He happened to be living in New York and working with me on club dates, so I invited him to play with. And then he moved away, and I never saw him again. But he brought that in, and he left it in the book, and it's a beautiful little chart, and I had to put it in there.
Yeah. Wonderful.
That's the only thing that I did not write.
Yeah.
Yeah, one other thing I want to tell you.
Yeah.
You notice there's quite a difference from track to track.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's I listen to a lot of albums where the stuff is good, but track after track is the sameness.
Yeah.
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 If I listened to this, if somebody else played that for me and and listened to it. I said, that was all written. That thing was written by several arrangers. That's not the same guy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You go from like the thing called blues dominant, and then you go to flying down to Rio. Like they're miles apart musically, and
yeah.
So it's. I'm not saying it's a mishmash, but there's a lot of variety there.
Yeah.
There is the sameness. It's the same arranger, but I get variety in the choice of pieces that are in there. You're gonna play cuts of this on radio or television or what?
Radio. It's going to be on radio.
Radio only, okay. And you're going to play like one cut at a time, right? You're not going to do.
It'll be one at a time.
No, I tell my friends, don't listen to the whole thing one after the other. Even though things are different, do 3 or 4 tracks and put it aside and listen to another part another day. Because
absolutely.
It starts to get really even boring for me if I listen to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But you are going to play my tracks on the air when you talk about it. It's not going to be just talk.
No. Mine.
Because you are what they call a disc jockey, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
So
it's a music show.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a music and talk show.
Yep, it's both. Yeah.
Great.
I intersperse both. So.
Oh, I called Richie Domino and told him we got to kick him.
I was wondering about that. Yeah,
that's not. I don't know anybody else with that name.
Yeah, it's rare.
There's not too many people that have my name.
Yeah,
Riccitelli.
Well, hey, Vinny, thank you again. I'll get back in touch. I'm glad that
Joe, you can call me anytime you want. I love it.
Sir.
Okay?
I do too, man. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Vinny for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.